Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a colorful biological mystery, and this is one that flows through the veins of, well, the entire animal kingdom.
So when you think of blood, what color comes to mind? Red, right? Of course. But, from the vibrant red in our own veins to the kind of famous blue blood of the horseshoe crab, nature's palette is just so much richer than you probably imagine.
And it's wild, because asking that really simple question, why isn't all blood red, it uncovers this absolutely breathtaking story of evolution, chemistry, and just survival against all odds.
Okay, so let's start by exploring some of these vibrant hues of lifeblood you can find all across the planet.
I mean, you've got the deep blue of octopuses and horseshoe crabs, the vivid green of certain leeches, this violet pink color in marine worms called lamp shells, and, get this, even the crystal clear, totally colorless blood of the Antarctic icefish. It's like a biological rainbow for real.
So what's going on here? What determines all these different colors?
Well, it all comes down to the specific molecule each animal uses to transport oxygen. A good way to think about them is like tiny, life-giving taxis.
These molecules, they're called respiratory pigments. And what they are these metal-based proteins that basically latch onto oxygen and carry it from the lungs or gills to every single cell in the body. And here's the kicker. It's the specific metal right at their core that gives blood its color.
Now for us, and most other vertebrates, that pigment is hemoglobin. And hemoglobin is a protein that's built around an iron atom. So when that iron atom binds with oxygen, it reflects red light. And boom, that's what gives our blood its signature color.
And let me tell you, it is incredibly effective. A staggering 97% of the oxygen in your bloodstream, right now, is being chauffeured around by hemoglobin. Only a tiny 3% or so is just, dissolved directly in your plasma.
So yeah, you can really think of each hemoglobin molecule as a dedicated oxygen taxi. It picks up its passenger, oxygen, in the lungs where there's plenty of it, and then drives it all the way through the bloodstream to drop it off in the tissues, right where it's needed for energy.
Okay, so now that we've got the basics down with our own red blood, let's go meet the other pigments that are responsible for that whole biological rainbow we were talking about earlier.
And this table just lays it all out so perfectly. You've got our familiar iron-based hemoglobin making blood red. Then there's hemocyanin. That one uses copper and it turns blue when it's carrying oxygen. Chlorocruorin also uses iron, believe it or not, but a tiny structural difference makes it look green. And finally, you have hemerythrin, which is also iron-based, and that one results in a beautiful violet pink.
And just so we're clear, this is not random. This is evolution at its absolute finest. See, for animals like an octopus living way down in the cold, oxygen-poor deep sea, that copper-based hemocyanin is actually more efficient at grabbing and transporting oxygen than our iron-based hemoglobin would be. It's just a perfect adaptation to a really challenging environment.
But, of course, nature just loves a good plot twist. So let's head over to New Guinea to meet a really peculiar lizard, one that seems to break all the rules we've just laid out.
So, meet the green-blooded skink. Now, based on everything we've just learned, you'd probably expect its blood to be green because of a pigment like chlorocruorin, right? Well, wrong. This skink is a vertebrate, and it has red blood cells packed full of red hemoglobin, just like us. So, what gives? Why is its blood a shocking lime green?
Okay, to figure this one out, we need to take a quick look at how our own bodies recycle old blood cells. It's actually a pretty simple two-step process. First, the old hemoglobin gets broken down into a green waste product called biliverdin. Then, second, an enzyme converts that green biliverdin into a yellow, toxic chemical called bilirubin, which our liver then just cleans out of the system.
The skink, however, it's got a genetic quirk. Its body just can't perform that second step. The whole recycling process gets stuck, and that leads to this enormous buildup of the green biliverdin right in its bloodstream.
And when I say enormous, I mean it. How massive is this buildup? The concentration of this green pigment gets so high, we're talking up to 40 times the level that would be lethal for a human, that it completely overwhelms the red color of its own hemoglobin. It literally stains its blood, its muscles, and even its bones a vibrant green.
All right, so we've gone from an animal with a massive excess of pigment. Let's switch gears and look at our final case study, a fish that somehow survives with no pigment at all.
This is the Antarctic icefish. It's a vertebrate, but it has no hemoglobin, no hemocyanin, no respiratory pigment whatsoever. Its blood is totally clear,
and it only carries oxygen in the small amount that can dissolve directly into its plasma.
So, how on Earth does it survive? Well, it's through a really remarkable set of adaptations. First, it lives a super slow, low-energy life in these frigid Antarctic waters that just happen to be naturally supersaturated with oxygen. See, colder water holds more dissolved gas, so enough oxygen can just get into its colorless blood passively. It's a seriously high-risk evolutionary strategy, one that could only work in this one very extreme environment.
And all of this really illustrates the core lesson of our journey today, which I think is captured perfectly in this quote from the biochemist Ken Sylvan Hold.
So what's the big takeaway? The color of an animal's blood isn't just some quirky fact for a trivia night. No, it's an elegant evolutionary solution perfectly tailored by natural selection to solve this universal problem. How do you deliver oxygen in every single imaginable environment on Earth, from the crushing depths of the deep sea all the way to our own bodies? And all of this leaves us with one final, kind of provocative thought. If something we think of as being so fundamental, like the color of blood, has this many exceptions to the rule, what other biological rules are out there just waiting to be broken? You have to wonder, right? What other amazing wonders are still out there, just waiting for us to discover them?